Happy Thankful Thursday, number 8. Okay, we've been doing this for a while. Week 1, I talked about and expressed my love and appreciation for my beautiful wife, Susie. Week 2 was my business partner, Brian. No. Week 2 was my old coworkers and my marketing crew. Then my business partner, Brian. Then one of my old mentors, Britt, gave a shout out to John Stange and the Platform Launchers community. Week 6 was my kids. And last week, I talked about summer camp. Almost 2 months now of reflecting on a lot of really good things that I have in my life to be thankful for. But you know what else I'm thankful for? Bad things. That's right. This week, we're going to shift gears a little bit and give credit where credit is due, because mistakes and setbacks and conundrums and crises, they don't get nearly as much respect as they deserve. Now, I'm not saying I like it when things go sideways, but can you think of a better teacher than a good blunder? I can tell my kids not to slam doors. I can tell them 1,000 times not to slam doors. I can explain to them why they shouldn't slam doors, how they could get hurt, how they could damage something, how they're going to get punished for not listening to me for the 1,000th time that I've told them not to slam a door. You know what they're going to do? They're going to still slam doors because they're trying to break me. 2 months ago, my youngest son, he was playing with his friends, and he got his fingers pinched pretty bad in a little door slamming incident. Thankfully, it wasn't that bad, but he got hurt. And you know what he didn't do for a while after that incident? He didn't slam doors for a long time. He's back at it again now because... just because. But I will say door slamming has become a lot less frequent and a lot less slammy when it does happen. That encounter, I warned him, but him actually experiencing the thing that I warned against, that clicked. That connected. Just last week, I wasn't as thorough about something as I should have been. I didn't test something all the way, and I accidentally sent out an email to a pretty big list, and it had the wrong link in it. I'm going to be extra careful about for the foreseeable future, making sure all the links in my marketing emails have the correct link in them. Both of these bad things with benefits, could be filed under cautionary tales. They help us learn. They help us to be more careful in the future. And ideally, they are small warnings. The first warning isn't as bad as what could have been. Hopefully they work like an inoculation. You get a little poke now to avoid a little polio down the road. There's other ways that bad things can help us get better too. And just for fun, I organized them into 3 C's of crappy things. Cautionary tales, we just talked about this, and I have a couple more examples to share. Closed doors and crucibles. Cautionary tales, or really cautionary experiences that we've lived ourselves, are a quick way to figure out what not to do and really have it stick. Indiana Jones only needed to step on the J tile once to have it seared in his brain for the rest of his life that Jehovah begins with an I in the Latin alphabet. He will not forget that. It only takes one computer crash to make you obsessive compulsive about saving your work often when you're working on a big project. Every now and then, I have to fix an issue that pops up on a client's website. And initially, I have no idea what the problem is or how to go about fixing it. But over the years, I've developed a wealth of troubleshooting tips. And I've gotten more efficient at working through these things. I've learned stuff that I didn't even know that I needed to learn, and I couldn't learn without actually facing it head on. And every now and then I do still hit walls, and it's frustrating as all get out. But then you figure it out, and I add it to my brain library, and I have that to draw on in the future. Scams are another great source for cautionary tales. Fortunately, I haven't been the victim of any major scams, besides the American healthcare system, but I digress. But I have been the target of many attempted scams, especially since starting a business. I started receiving all sorts of fake offers, official-looking forms that aren't actually from officials, like the PA certificate service scam a couple years ago. But that's actually what inspired me to lean in and develop this channel, to give a heads up to other small business owners and help them avoid falling prey to scams and other potential pitfalls that I had to navigate myself. So thank you, scammers, for being horrible and giving me a mission, giving my life meaning. Seriously, though, if you go back through my videos, old ones and new ones, count how many are developed around me making a mistake or having to figure out a problem. I actually got a brand new scam letter just last week that I'll be covering in a future video, so be on the lookout for that. Mistakes and problems, in this case, aren't just good for me in the long run. They're good for the general public, who can learn from me without having to endure the consequences of making the mistake themselves. C number 2, closed doors. Gently closed doors and slam doors alike are another seemingly bad thing that have saved my life on more than one occasion. Maybe we should call them course corrections. That begins with C too, so that still works. They are disappointing in the moment. We hope and we plan for one thing and something else happens instead. And it can usually take the form of failure, which is a horrible feeling, especially when our identities, our reputations, our paychecks, our promotions hinge so heavily on our performance, on our ability to not fail. But more often than not, it has nothing to do with us or how we stack up to the competition. Doors just close sometimes. Snowstorms, ground flights, managers hire incompetent nephews, restaurants run out of French fries. It just happens, despite our best efforts. I was finishing up my MBA, this is years ago, and I was getting itchy. I wanted to work. I wanted the work and the lack of sleep to pay off. I didn't mind my job, but I wanted to feel a little more secure and provide for my family a little bit better. That's why I was getting the MBA, so I could advance in my career. So I started applying for positions at other companies. And long story short, nothing really panned out. But thank God it didn't. I believe in a sovereign God who knows a lot more than I think I know. And looking back, I am so thankful that I was disappointed a few years ago, because otherwise I'd be a lot more disappointed now. This weekend, I drove past the exit that I would get off at for work if I had been made an offer by one of the companies that I was interviewing for. It is almost an hour away from my house. I live in the middle of a triangle. There's like Princeton, Center City, Philly, and then King of Prussia, and a little further out, Malvern. All these places, these kind of like central places where the good jobs are, at least the ones that I could find back then, they're like 45, 60 or more minutes away. And then it's 45, 60 or more minutes to get back home. If I was going to pursue one of those jobs, I would have to decide between relocating, and that would take me away from my wonderful community, or commuting hours every day. and miss out on, I did the math, I would miss out on over a month's worth of time with my family every year with an hour and a half or 2 hour commute that I'd have to make if I was to stay put. More than likely, it would be more than that, like in actuality, because I'd have to leave before my kids would be up for breakfast, and I'd probably get back after dinner. So I'd miss out on like all meals with my kids. No, 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 not gonna happen. So I stayed put at my job a little longer. I was patient. My job is just 5 minutes away. And in case you missed the Thankful Thursday episode about my old coworkers, they're great. And as new opportunities opened up and I started pursuing growing my own business, they were incredibly accommodating. It was disappointing to be passed over for the jobs I applied for, but it was a mercy. I really am thankful for those closed doors. Just like how every wrong answer gets us closer to the right one, every closed door and course correction gets us a little closer to where we're supposed to be. There's many different types of bad things. You know, it's not just these three categories I just kind of made up today. But the final crappy category I'll touch on today are crucibles. I used this word last week and I really liked it, so I'm going to use it again. Also, I'm wearing the same pants that I wore yesterday and the day before, and you can't do anything about it. Just gonna. All right. So a crucible is where things are subject to high temperatures and melted down in order to refine them, to make something a better version of itself. Hard things, stressful things, challenges that reveal our limits and give us an opportunity to overcome our limits, to push past them. They don't feel good. They usually don't feel comfy, cozy, and fun. But these are the things that help us grow. I mentioned the MBA. I was working on that while I was working full time. We had a 1-year-old, and during the program, before it was over, we had another baby. And I was also doing some freelance work, and I had some volunteer commitments. It was hard. It was really hard. Just the sheer amount of stuff that was all stacked up. I never had that much stuff on my plate before. It was an incredible growing experience. I learned a lot about time management. I had to back down from some things, and that did not feel good. That felt bad, feeling like I had to give something up or saying no to people. But that's okay. I also learned this. Getting to the point where you have to say no to stuff, that's a sign that you're filling your time, hopefully with better things, and where you have to choose. You also have to be good at prioritizing. And I value doing things well, and I want to make sure that I'm giving adequate time to the things that are most important to me. So, I had to figure this out. I had to straighten all of this out. And I didn't just know how to do it. I had to be pushed to the brink before I came to this realization and navigated all of this. Like I had a breakdown or two, but at the end of it, I think I'm a little wiser now. I think. Sometimes the challenges we face reveal that the thing that we've been really scared or anxious about isn't even a thing. Certainly not as bad as we made it out to be. We encounter this fear, we take it head on, and then it's not that bad. And that's a huge confidence boost and helps us to tackle the next challenge in the future. Bad things suck. Don't get me wrong. Like, don't hear me wrong. I'm not advocating we go chasing after bad things. We can embrace challenges, but I'm not saying we should make excuses for things that we know are wrong or redefine bad as good. But we can appreciate struggles and setbacks for the way they make us a little wiser, a little stronger, a little more mindful, a little more content, for the way they make us more vulnerable and humble and honest and prayerful and more willing to reach out to others, to lean in closer to community for support, to draw closer to God. And if instead of chronically complaining, instead of villainizing every external factor that gets in between us and our desired outcomes, or lamenting some alleged lack of justice because things don't go our way and McDonald's won't serve us an Egg McMuffin, even though it's only 5 minutes after breakfast service cutoff. Come on, just make the Egg McMuffin. If instead of fixating on the negative side of negative things, we can practice appreciation for the bad things, to put on our silver linings glasses and be grateful for the things we did learn and the things that did go right. If we can do this, I think we'll be happier people. I think we'll be healthier people, mentally, emotionally, and physically, because it's all connected. You don't need the Egg McMuffin. Be thankful for the breakfast cutoff. What? What's that? All day breakfast. Like I could